Hello and welcome to the Goldenrod Podcast, bringing you some of the latest and greatest Pokemon news and a few laughs along the way. I'm joined by fellow Pokemon enthusiast Conor. Before we begin, you can jump around the podcast by using the timestamps in the description below. Conor, say hello.
Hello.
I wanted to do something that isn't just me asking how you are, because it just feels like that's how I've started every single one of the previous 4 podcasts that we've done.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're talking about you starting these podcasts. I've got a question for you, and it was brought up by my mate Lewis as well. Why do you say my name so aggressively?
Do I?
It's always, and I'm joined today by Conor!
Okay, that's just something that I do on YouTube, and like, you know, when I've complained in the past about like I'm not happy with my like audio quality.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that the mic I use is rubbish. It's because I am so aggressive in the way that I talk, and I'm naturally a loud person. Like I've not got a deep voice. I've just got a naturally loud voice. So it's like that in any of my content I do. I don't think it's just you, but now I'm not sure. But whenever I say anybody's name, I don't know, I'm just loud and I roll some of the letters and I roll the word out so it lasts a long time. I hadn't really thought about it. So next week when I'm like, so I'm joined this week by Conor.
Conor, yeah, it's just Conor's here joining me. We're going to have a great time today. We're going to do an ASMR episode and everybody's going to have a great time.
Oh,
I don't know why I went slightly higher pitched there.
I don't know. Like if people like ASMR, that's absolutely great. But for me, it just freaks me out. I just can't. It's like, you know, when you hear like repetitive noises and it just really gets into your ears, and it's like, oh, this does not sound. I'm actually like squirming right now. It's just not for me, unfortunately. I understand why some people like it, just not for me.
Well, the one that gets me, like, I make a special effort when I do the editing for this podcast and that to get rid of all the lip smacks and things like that, because I think they sound horrible. But people will sit there and just listen to people eat food. I'm like, nothing sounds worse to me.
No, I'm the exact same when I'm trying to like do one of my challenge videos. I have to go in there and take out all, like, say, the lip smacks, because they just grate on me. I can't do it. And sometimes I'll watch someone else's content, you know, and the 5 seconds in, they're all like, and I'm just like, no, I'm out. Sorry, I can't do this. It really just gets to me for some reason.
You're not alone. You're not alone.
Good to know. Well, we should probably move on then to our next segment. The first segment. The first segment. But I'm trying to segue. Okay, I'm trying to segue, and I'm gonna get there. What I was going to say is, shall we go to the next segment?
Wow, that's you are on the level of like Pokemon Go to the polls at this point. Stop it.
So, if you haven't guessed, we're going to talk Pokemon Go this week.
It is the 6th anniversary, the 6-year anniversary of Pokemon Go as of day of recording. So, what better? What better to talk about?
Yeah, I think let's just preface it for like, how long have you been playing it for? If you are playing it.
So I do play it. I have been on and off for many, many years. Now, when it first came out, I had the problem where I really, really wanted to play it, but I had a Windows phone at the time. Ooh. Yeah, so it wasn't by choice. My phone broke. Okay. It was a hand-me-down from a mate of mine, and he gave me a Windows phone, and it just wasn't compatible. You couldn't get Pokemon Go on it. So during what was effectively the second Pokemania, which we'll come on to no doubt during this conversation, all my mates were suddenly back into it, and no longer was I the only Pokemon guy. Suddenly everybody was playing it again, and I just couldn't be a part of it.
No.
So I missed the initial onboarding experience, and I think that kind of stuck with me a little bit. I never caught the bug. I played it a little bit. I don't know if you know what level you are. Pull your phone out. I'll give you some time. You need to pull your phone out.
I'm 39. I know.
You're 39.
I'm 39.
Well, there you go.
That took me a long time.
I think that shows you exactly where I'm at. Then I'm only level 28.
Okay. It does. As you level up more, it takes more experience to get to the next level, and I found out quite late on, like, the best way to level up is wait until there is a 2 times experience event, and then pop a lucky egg, which makes it 4 times experience, and then just evolve a load of Pokemon, and then send them back to the professor for candy. And that's how I've kind of gotten to the level I've got to. I started when it first came out to the point where I'm trying to, from what I remember, because it was so long ago, you had to, in order to get it, because it came out in America first, from what I remember, and us Brits were slightly behind, but there was a way to, if you had a jailbroken phone, which I had at the time, there was a way to get the basically force the American app onto your phone. So then you got it for, I think it was like 2 weeks maybe before the release of, before they released it over in the UK. And I thought I was quite clever getting it so quick, because I thought, right, okay, I can get a head start and catch all these Pokemon. And straight away, there's already gyms. There's already people like putting their Pokemon in gyms. So already I was on the back foot, even though I thought I was one of the first people to download it. But I remember I managed to get it when I was still living at my parents' house, and I was in the kitchen at the time. I managed to install it. I was like, I'm just gonna go out into the garden and see what I can find. And I was just disappointed because nothing just popped up. It was just like, I don't know what it's like where you are, but where I live, there's just a lot of green. It's very basic. I'm basically a rural player, unfortunately.
No.
Yeah, and I just walked right down, and I don't know why I was expecting loads of Pokemon to suddenly be there, and there just wasn't. And obviously, over time, I suddenly realized, I understand why. The spawns aren't in such a close proximity to one another, unless you are, in an area with more
it's almost counterintuitive. The
Yes.
Pokemon aren't in the wild, they're in the cities.
Yes. And like that, so my experience was like, when it first came out, and that Pokemania was just everywhere, and everyone in their family a downloaded Pokemon Go, and it was like you can catch the original 151 Pokemon. I was like, all right, this is just perfect. And I think, thinking back, actually, I think that's what got me back into Pokemon. Thinking back now was when after I'd been playing that for a while, I thought, you know what? I'm going to get a 3DS. I'm going to try and complete a living Pokedex. I'm pretty sure now, thinking back, it was Pokemon Go that
You're
started
not alone.
it.
You're not alone. Pokemon Go brought a lot of people back to this franchise, and I think it can arguably be stated as Pokemon Go is the reason the franchise is doing so well today.
It wouldn't surprise me if Pokemon Go makes more than the previous mainstream Pokemon game. The amount of money, because I don't know if you the same as me. The first time I got the official app so I could buy stuff, I was like, yeah, go on, I'll spend £5 on the coins, because I thought to myself, well, I'm probably going to play this a bit. £5's £5. It wasn't a lot of money at the time, and it was just an opportunity to try and get a leg up slightly. And I don't mind free to play games as long as they're not aggressive with their spend money. Oh, you can't do this until you spend money. Whereas Pokemon Go never felt like that. At least when it first came out, it was, you can use the money to buy Pokeballs and, a couple of incubators, and you don't need them. You can get them from wherever you go, and it's absolutely fine. And this was before they introduced the daily, I can't think of the words, the daily challenges. Yeah, it was before any of that. So it was very bare bones in terms of, you go out, you literally find the Pokemon, you give it a berry, and then you throw a Pokeball. And that was about all. The main thing was completing the Pokedex.
It wasn't for years that they finally introduced battling and things like that.
No.
Which is now at a point where we're going to see it at the World Championships this year. The Pokemon Go battling is going to be at World Championships.
Because, like, the battling, I get why they went with the way they went with the battling, but at the time, I remember being disappointed. It's like, this isn't what I was used to. And there's actually a lot that goes on under the hood in terms of the battling, and like to be competitive, you have to keep up with the meta, but then you're constantly on the lookout for Pokemon with perfect stats, and then
Yep.
obviously making sure you've got enough candy to get them to the max level. Obviously, you need to be the max trainer level in order to get them to the max level, and then you need to get TMs, like the charged and the fast TMs.
Yeah, and
so
you can't teach them whatever move you want. You just
Nope.
have to keep rolling that dice and
Random.
hoping you land on the one that's good.
Yeah. I've been in some of the battle. Every now and again, I'm like, oh, I'll have a couple of battles on it. And I either absolutely wreck shop or I get absolutely wrecked. Because typically, because you're only allowed 3 Pokemon, and it's as you say, it's a roll of the dice as to whether or not your Pokemon are, have a type advantage or move advantage or anything like that. And some Pokemon definitely seem more broken than others. But going back to the launch of it was like, I've heard people describe it as it was just the perfect summer, because that game came out, everyone was just happy. There was news articles about, the first player to catch all the Pokemon except for the legendaries, because you couldn't get legendaries to start with.
Mm-hmm.
And this person had managed to catch some of the other Pokemon while they were traveling the world, so they managed to get the regional Pokemon like Kangaskhan and Tauros and stuff like that you could only get in certain regions. And I just remembered, I used to hate going for walks, and Pokemon Go has got me to the point where I'm like, yeah, I'll go for a walk.
See, this was always one of the issues I had with Pokemon Go is so they introduced this thing where you could like turn your phone upside down and it would make the screen go black, and then you still get the vibrations if a Pokemon went off, but it just drained my battery so quickly.
Yes.
So it's like, I'll go for a walk, and then I'm like 3 hours away from my house. My phone's dead, and I've got to just make my own way back, I guess.
Yeah. They've got... And I only found it, and the only reason I found this out is because I had the exact same issue as you, where the phone just got to the point where it's like, nah, I'm done, have fun. But there was a low performance mode or something like that in the settings. Like, why is that not just the standard? Like that, why? And I still to this day can't figure out why it drains battery so much when it seems so simplistic. And the only thing I can think of is it's constantly feeding and downloading like cellular data. So it's like, what you're here. Oh, these are the Pokemon that need to spawn here. Okay, right, and that constantly keep feeding, because like it's constantly updating your profile to the server. Like
because it's synced with everyone else. Because if a Charizard arrives for you, it's also arrived for anybody else playing the game around you, kind of thing. Yes,
so I can understand why it drains the batteries. It's just infuriating though, but I get why they can't have like an offline mode or something like that, because it just wouldn't work, and then it's open to hacking. And I do have a bit of confession while we're talking about hacking.
Were you a GPS hacker?
I was a GPS hacker. So the only
it was
reason
easier back in the day.
It used to so if you had a jailbroken phone, you could do it that way, and then eventually I got a legit phone, and you could still get it. There are ways to download it, and the only reason I did it is because, as I said earlier, I'm a rural player. So for me, it is, I can enjoy it. I can wander around. I can catch the Pokemon. It's quite nice. But the moment they say, this Pokemon is now available in raids, I am not getting that Pokemon. I cannot get that Pokemon. I joined Facebook groups, Discord groups, and people trying to arrange to meet up, and then people flake, and you drive somewhere and there's only 3 of you, so there's no way you're going to be able to catch that Zapdos, and it just infuriated me to no end. So in the end, I was like, sorry, I'm gonna get the non-legit version. I'm not gonna go into the gyms though, because I understand how that would be frustrating for other players. But for raids, I don't see how that impacts on other players, because I'm not a competitive player or anything like that. I'm just trying to fill out the Pokedex. And I always found the best place to go was San Francisco, because literally the moment an egg spawns and you're in there, and it's got 20 plays maximum within 10 seconds, if that.
Wow.
So I was able to get like so many of the legendary Pokemon that I needed. But eventually my account got banned.
Nice.
So
I mean, not nice, but
not nice. So I was like, right, okay, fair enough. And I thought to myself, no, it's fine, not bothering with this. I'll leave it. And then decided to start another account, and actually got further than my original account. and then tried to log back in several months later, only to find that my original account was now reopened, like unbanned. So I've actually got 2 accounts that are both like really high level, which has worked out quite nicely because I've been able to trade a lot of the old Pokemon that I had to my new game as we've introduced like, trading and stuff like that. So now I've got a couple of lucky Pokemon and whatnot. But for me, it's mainly just about completing the Pokedex. That's the enjoyment I get out of it. I don't know what about the game you enjoy the most.
So I think for a long time, I got back into the game, I think, because I picked it up when I finally could. I picked it up and I wandered around for a bit and I was catching Pokemon. I was like, this is fine, but I can see why this was more fun when lots of people were playing it. And now that it's just me wandering around and my phone keeps dying every 20 minutes, I'm just not having a great time. And there's kind of nothing to do but catch Pokemon.
Yeah.
Once they introduced battling into it,
yeah,
I got myself a really good team. I think I only play on the 1500 CP caps.
Same. Yeah.
But I've got 3 Pokemon in there who kind of their fast moves are really, really quick and they build up to their powered up moves faster than most others, which means I can break down your shields quicker than you can mine.
Yeah.
And I can win more than 50% of my games, which means I get prizes from it. One of the issues I always had with Pokemon Go, though, and I still have it to this day, to the point where I had the exact same issue today playing the game, I'm always running out of space in my bag.
Oh, I've gotten to the point now where I just throw away Pokeballs because I have 500 Great Balls and about 300 Ultra Balls. So I'm like,
see, I couldn't even hold that much.
No,
I've upgraded my bag over and over and over again, and I don't know what is in there that's taking up so much space.
Berries,
but it's just
maybe.
constant berries. I throw berries away until I've only got like 50 of each.
Okay.
Because somebody else said the exact same thing to me. It's like, oh, throw away your berries. You don't need that. Throw away your Pokeballs. You don't need those. Throw away this. Throw away that. And I'm like, I am constantly still just, and it will be the 2 ends of the spectrum. There was actually one point where I didn't have any space in my bag, but also couldn't pick up any Pokeballs, so I couldn't catch anything. And I was like, I don't know what has happened here.
On? Right.
But the game does not work for me anymore.
Right. See, I've bought quite a lot, not with my own money, just from doing gyms and everything. Quite a lot of extra storage space. So I've got something like, I think item wise, I can hold about 1,800, something like. Or was that the Pokemon? I can hold about 1,000. I'd have to check, but I can hold a lot of items, a lot of Pokemon. But every now and again, it gets to the point where I'm like, I've just run out of space again. And typically, I like to spend what coins I do earn on the incubator packages, because they work out the best value for money, and then you can hatch loads of eggs, because having one unlimited incubator just isn't enough, unfortunately, to power through all the eggs that you get, especially now that they introduced eggs from like the Team Rocket members as well. But that's typically where my my coins go. But I even fully expanding my Pokemon storage, I still have way too many mons in there that, like, I've got so many different types of Pikachus from all the events that they run, and they just sit there, and I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do with these? And part of me doesn't want to get rid of them because I'm never going to use them, but it's just in case one day, maybe Pokemon Home turns around and says, those custom form Pokemon that you got in Pokemon Go, yeah, you can bring them to the main games. And I'm like, right, okay, I've got a flying Pikachu in balloons. Like, bring that bad boy in. And I just can't bring myself to get rid. I've got 2 of each of the like special Pikachus, because I don't want to get down to 1 just in case. But at the same time, I can't be having 3 or 4. And that's what it used to be like. I used to have loads of the different types, like probably about 200 different forms of Pikachus at one point. And I've just had to clear them out, unfortunately, and it's not the most intuitive way of getting rid of Pokemon. It's gone a lot better now, because I don't know if you remember when it first came out, you had to manually go onto every single Pokemon, and when you were on the Pokemon, you could like release it, and you could only release that one, and then you'd move on to the next one.
Yeah, you couldn't mass select them at the time.
No, you couldn't. It was an absolute nightmare when that box filled up, and I remember when I first found out that they have their own system of EVs in Pokemon Go, and I was like, all right, okay. And now it's great because you check it and it's like your team's mascot or leader, whoever they are, pops up and it's like, oh, these are attack, defense, and HP, and here's a bar that gives you like a nice overview. And you
can search now. You can go, are they 3-star? Are they perfect? If not, like I will now go in and I'll go, okay, search all 3-star and perfects, star all those, keep them all as my favorites. And then go through and delete everything else, basically.
But do you remember how it used to be when it first came out? Because they couldn't. They used to give you like vague descriptions. Do you remember? And then you had to look it up online and be like, so what does this mean? And they go, oh, your Pokemon could be better in this. Oh, your Pokemon's really good in this. Oh, your Pokemon is unbeatable in this. And it's like, well, what does that actually mean? I'm trying to figure it out.
It's super small, but it could be stronger. And it's like, that's such a vague statement.
It's like, yeah, thanks. I guess. I mean, fine. But just it is a game that if you went back and you saw it when it first came out, you could understand how it got from where it was to where it is now. And I do like, because I remember reading the articles going, oh, this is done. Once that first year is done and dusted, no one's going to be playing Pokemon Go. Like, it's going to get old really fast because it's the same old thing, except for every now and again, oh, it's new Pokemon. But I must say, they've managed to just keep bringing out content for it and updating it and tweaking things and adding things to make it easier for people, also make people keep coming back and having stuff to do. And
to be fair, the fact that it's a mobile game that is celebrating its 6th anniversary and is better now than it's ever been before.
Yeah.
Nobody expected that. Nobody expected this to still be supported. Nobody expected the impact it would have had on the franchise. Nobody expected it to invade the franchise, for lack of a better word, in many, many ways. We spoke about it before. We've spoke about Go in Pokemon Journeys now. We spoke about basically raid battles in Sword and Shield.
And Let's Go as well. Yeah, with the catching mechanic that just like, oh, it's basically Pokemon Go. I'm all for that. And they've added like some of the other features, like, you can have companions now. You've got the challenges. You've got like group challenges where people have to work together, and like you mentioned, like the actual raids. I remember when the first trailer came out for the raids. Do you remember it?
Yeah, with the Mewtwo in
in Times Square or whatever it is, and everyone's just like running up to these eggs, and then the eggs all hatch, and then people are throwing in the Pokemon. That trailer gives me goosebumps.
Which half the reason we're covering this today is because the Pokemon TCG has just released their Pokemon Go set for the first time. I think last week there was a tie-in with that in Pokemon Go itself. You got all the original starters and things like that were available. But one of the main chase cards is Mewtwo V Alt Art, which is that shot from the first trailer of Mewtwo in Times Square.
Oh, that is so cool. I need to check. I haven't seen these yet, but I need to check them out. But I try to keep my distance from TCG because it is such a money sink, unfortunately. I love the artwork. I love collecting them, but it costs a bit of money for a bit of cardboard.
They do. I enjoy watching it now. I like the competitive scene, so I've been watching it quite a lot. There's some really good Pokemon that come out of it. Some really good low value set decks have been made. There's a Soul Rock and Lunatone deck that's really popular at the moment. It's all basic Pokemon, so it's super, super cheap to put together, but is performing really well. So if you want to get back into it, there's options. Magikarp, weirdly enough, is one of the better decks to come out at the moment.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting.
Because there's a Magikarp card that does more damage the more Magikarps and Gyarados you have in the discard pile. But they released a Ditto as well, and this Ditto, we need to talk about this Ditto in this Pokemon Go set. So this Ditto can copy any basic Pokemon attack that's in the discard pile. So you throw away all your Gyarados, you throw away all your Magikarp, and then you do a butt ton of damage with Ditto copying the Magikarp's attack. Right, this Ditto.
Yes.
You like the TCG, right? You're a collector.
I am a collector, and I do enjoy playing it to the point where I only recently removed it from my computer because I hadn't played it in a while. But I do like playing the games online, but I made the mistake once of joining a competition where it was, you can bring your own decks, and I got absolutely wrecked. Like, just all these fancy cards coming in that are just like, do 300 damage with 4 energies, and they just run through. So yes, I do enjoy it, but I've not
played in the Sword and Shield era as well, didn't you?
I did, yes.
So you were going up against tag team Pokemon with like 280 HP and doing 300 damage.
Broken.
Yeah, no, tag team was gross. To be fair, tag team came out, and then we went on to Vs and V Maxes, and now they're on to V Stars. Anyway, that's not what I'm going into. We're not going to be a TCG channel. What I want to talk about is this Ditto. So there's a Ditto in the new Pokemon Go TCG set where it's in disguise.
Oh, okay.
So the way Ditto works in Pokemon Go is you catch a Pokemon and then it was a Ditto all along.
Yes.
Well, now it's a case of you pull a card, and down in the little corner of it, it's got a little Ditto symbol instead of like the Pokemon Go symbol. So it's actually a Ditto, and you've got to peel a sticker off the front of the card to reveal the Ditto.
Okay, right. I like that, but as a collector,
it makes me uncomfortable.
Yes, that drive me just crazy, because I'd feel like I'd need to collect I'd need to collect that card twice, one for the unpeeled version and one for the peeled version.
Yep.
Collecting. I know we said we weren't going to talk about TCG, but now you got me down this rabbit hole. So I collected the very first series when it came out and completed it, and bit of Fossil Pack, a bit of the Jungle, and then I didn't really touch it until Sword and Shield came out. I was like, this is the one where I'm going to complete the set, and I did. I completed it. Really pleased with it. Until I started
Sword and Shield.
The base set, yeah. And it was only when I started putting it all in, I was like, well, some Pokemon have more than one version of it. You have the normal, then you have the holo, and then some of them you have a third version.
Yeah, you'll have the regular, the reverse holo, the holo, the alt art.
And it just got to the point where I was like, well, I have got one of every single one of those cards, including the rainbow and the gold. But there are some cards where I've only got the normal. There's some where I've only got the reverse holo. And it got to the point where I was like, I just can't do this. Otherwise, I'm going to go down the rabbit hole and be like, now I need to collect every single variant of every single card in the Sword and Shield base set. And I just had to take a step back and go, you know what? I should be happy with what I've done, but I don't want to think about how much. And it was at a time when I had a low disposable income. COVID had happened. So I was like, I had way more coming in than I had going out. And I was like, I'm going to treat myself to these.
Were you cracking packs?
I was just like, so I went.
Oh, Ben, adults buy singles.
What do you mean by cracking packs? Sorry.
As in opening like booster packs.
Oh, yeah, opening booster packs, yeah.
No, adults buy singles.
Yeah, I did that towards the end, because there comes a point where it does become cheaper to just buy the cards, because you're buying packs and you're just getting the same cards over and over again. And I did eventually learn that, and when I got towards the end, I was like, okay, right, there's a certain couple of cards I need to get, including a couple of the gold ones, because they were just ridiculously impossible to pull. And
yeah, some of them, I think I've seen the odds on some of them being like 1 in 100, 1 in 150 and stuff like that. And I think that's too much.
It's too much, and I'm glad I did it, but I wouldn't. I couldn't go back and try and complete, and unless I had more disposable income than sense, I couldn't do that. Anyway, back to Pokemon Go.
Yep.
Because when we spoke about like some of the ways they've helped to like keep it going and reinvigorating it, and we have to give like credit to some of the things that they've done. And like one of the things is, I don't know if you ever go out and about, but on community days, I like just the fact that the shiny odds are so ridiculously high that me that wants to eventually complete a shiny Pokedex, like the best way to get shiny Pokemon is seems to be Pokemon Go. It's just so easy on community days, where typically I will get all, at least 3 of the Pokemon in shiny form, evolve 2 of them to, second and final form, and then transfer them over to Pokemon Home, and I've completed what might take me, I don't know, hundreds upon thousands of egg hatching or whatever it might be. And I'd love to do a proper community day in a big city where they have events and stuff like that I see advertised every now and again. I'd love to do that, but as a rural player, I miss out on a lot of that.
I understand that. See, community days for me, I've got a couple of mates who play Pokemon Go fairly regularly, and I see him on community days. He's like, yeah, I've got my 50,000 steps in today. I'm like, excuse me?
What?
It's like, yeah, no, I walked like 4 or 5 miles. It was great. It's like, no
chance. And I must say, like, but for me, if ever Pokemon Go was going to die a death, so to speak, was when the pandemic happened, because
and yet
it's flourished
because they finally introduced remote raid passes. They extended the length of which your little spinny circle around you that you can interact with. They expanded that out so you could get Pokestops that were ever so slightly further away from you. It's amazing that it took something like that for Pokemon Go to take this step into being more user-friendly than it was before. But I'm very glad it did so.
So it needed to. I'm amazed that they haven't rolled back some of them as much or sooner. Like they've already come out and said remote raid passes are here to stay, and I'm like, yeah, absolutely, they need to stay, because they don't break the game or anything like that. They introduced, you get a free challenge every day now, so you don't need to go out every day and spin at least a disc to get a new challenge. And then they introduced free boxes, so every day you can open a box that has a couple of items, which for me it's more busy work opening them than the gifts I get out of them. But for someone that's maybe starting new and they need those items, it's absolutely fantastic. I think there are still things that I think they need to do to improve it. One of the things that I desperately don't know why they haven't got this is when you are just walking and you can see just the world view on your phone. I wish it showed you the raid, it shows you the raids that are going on, but I wish there was a number over the raid that said, oh, there's 2 people waiting in the lobby or 3 people, rather than me having to, click on the egg.
Join it.
Yes.
Join it to work out, oh, I'm on my own.
Yeah. And like, it's more annoying than that, because you click on the egg, it zooms into where the egg is, then it shows you the Pokemon, and it's like, he's an Articuno. It's like, I know what an Articuno looks like. I just want to know who's in the gym, please. And then you click on the gym, and like you said, it's like, oh, it's just me, right? Fantastic. And I know you can invite friends and stuff like that, but like some of the friends I've got on there, I don't even know who they are. I've just gone on forums because I'm just like, well, I need people to complete some of these tasks about, sending gifts and whatnot. And the time zones are out of sync, or, the Pokemon I'm trying to beat in a raid aren't the Pokemon they want to catch in a raid, unfortunately. And it still amazes me that to this day, if you want to coordinate a raid battle with other people using Pokemon Go, you have to use something outside of Pokemon Go, like Facebook or Discord. Still
so
blows
here you go,
my
guys.
mind. Go on.
Ben needs friends on Pokemon Go.
Please.
So send your friend code to goldenrodpod@gmail.com.
do it. In fact, whack him in the YouTube description or something like that, just so I can build up my list of friends that I can actually do raid battles with, because infuriatingly, I've got one of the challenges that I need to complete is take a snapshot of Landorus. I haven't got a Landorus. There are no raid battles currently with Landorus. I can't do it. And when Landorus was out in the raids at the time, I just couldn't get people to join me or take part. There was nobody in any of the raid battles, unfortunately, because I live in such a rural area. So I just feel like it's one of those that I'm not going to do until they announce that, when you complete your 7-day streak, there's a chance to get Landorus, and that will be when I do. There still needs more work around it for rural play. I don't even think it's for rural players. I just think there's a bit more that needs to be done around accessibility in terms of the raids. For me, that's the disappointing part, unfortunately.
Well, see, it's funny because, and I wanted to bring this up anyway because there's a little bit of insight that I have, is the fact that you would think that Pokemon would exist more in the wild, that would exist more in the rural areas. Yeah. The reason they don't is because it's not a Well, it's not a Pokemon game. Pokemon Go wasn't originally a Pokemon game.
It's that what was it called? That cellular game. Ingress. That was it. Which is you basically go around like areas of high mobile activity and collect things, don't you?
The idea was at the time, I think you were hackers.
Right.
I think that was because I had a mate who played it at university, and I think you were initially hackers, and you had to go to these sort of local sites of importance, and you'd get a bunch of information on your rival teams and things like that, and you'd use it against them. And that's what Pokemon Go is based off of. So a load of the Pokestops
they just ported over the data, didn't they?
Lifted over completely.
That just... It makes sense, though. If you've already got that data and information there, it's going to save you a fortune.
And it functions.
And what, sorry?
It functions. It functions. It works.
Yeah. Yes, it does. It does. But it does rule out, unfortunately. You know, there have been times where I've been going through, like, fields, hills, whatever it might be, where it's just green all around, and yet there are no Pokemon. Whereas, you know, in the anime, in the games, that is where the Pokemon are. They're not in the cities. If you see Pokemon in cities, typically they're the ones that have been captured.
They're owned by somebody,
Yes. But I understand why they do, because they do want to get people into the cities, because the more people that are there that are doing raids, the more likely people are, you know, spending coins on egg incubators or the passes, or, you know, going to some of the stops that are sponsored, which I remember seeing when I was in San Francisco, in air quotes, and seeing some of the Starbucks ones that were sponsored. So I understand why they do that, and they want to drive people to the city. And whenever I am in town, you know, I'll have my phone up and I'll be wandering around. I'll be catching Pokemon. But still, even in like my local city, it's still... Even if you go there on a community day, you're struggling to get into the raids. And unfortunately, because of there's not a huge amount of, you know, gyms, and the other end of the city and everything, it's not worthwhile walking around each one, because there's no guarantee you're going to be able to, you know, you could walk to one and everyone's going to another one, and because you're not on Facebook or you're not in the Discord, you're not aware everyone's going, which is why I just wish there was something in game where it was like, you know, the egg hatches or the egg is activating and people will just click on it and go, I'm heading there, or I'm interested. And then if enough people do it, then everyone's like, oh, well, now I've got a reason to go there, rather than, you know, take a risk of, oh, well, I'm going to go up there. Because while you could use remote raid passes, I have noticed they're getting a lot more stingy with them. There used to be, I used to get where I'd always have 3 and I'd always have to burn one, because it was like, oh, for 1 poker coin, you can get an extra 1 or you can get an extra 3. Whereas now it seems like the cheap or free remote raid passes are a thing of the past now. They want you to be going up to the gyms to interact with them, but there are issues with that, unfortunately.
What I found with the remote raid passes is you get them as a reward if you remoted into a raid and won.
Oh, really?
Yeah. At least that's from my very limited experience. That's what I found.
Right. Okay. Oh, see, I've not experienced that, but it has been a while since I've done a raid, unfortunately, because there's just none around me, and none of the Pokemon at the moment are ones that I'm desperate to get. Because for me, ultimately, it's mainly about completing the Pokedex and wherever I can, getting shinies that I can port over to Pokemon Home.
Into home.
Yeah, but I'm at the stage now where like my basic box is full, and I'm refusing to pay £15 or whatever it is for a full year. To move around a couple of shinies. I'll keep them in Pokemon Go for now, and then eventually when I've got enough of them, I'll just get a month of Pokemon Home, import them in, and then I can start to think about, okay, right, let's try and complete this, shiny Pokedex that I want to do.
Good on you. I'd love to see somebody actually complete it. I've got a mate of mine who their daughter really wants to complete a shiny dex. I'm like, and you started that how long ago?
Yeah.
Oh, a month ago. Good luck.
And like that is one of those things where I think people would think, oh, it's dead easy to do, right? There's 800 odd Pokemon, so that I can easily catch 800 odd Pokemon. But I've shiny hunted before, and it is such a long and tedious process.
It's getting easier.
It's getting easier, but there are going to be. It's getting easier, but it's going to come in the next year or two where it actually gets more difficult because Pokemon Bank is shutting down. So anything from those first couple of, Gen 6 and 7, anything from Gen 3 up to Gen 7, you're not going to be able to import into Pokemon Home. They're going to be stuck on the 3DS because you can't move them to Bank and therefore into Home. And
as far as I'm aware, Pokemon Bank is staying open. You just won't be able to buy it anymore.
Oh, really? I thought they were closing it. Oh.
No, so the Nintendo 3DS store is closing, so you won't be able to get Pokemon Bank anymore.
But if you've already got it, you're safe.
But and in fact, Pokemon Bank will become free after that because you'll no longer be able to put money into the 3DS store in order to pay for it. So download Pokemon Bank now.
Right. Yes.
And at some point it will become free and will be still supported, at least as far as Pokemon are concerned, for the foreseeable future.
Okay, that's all right. Because every now and again I do shiny hunts on Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon in, the wormholes. Because the odds, the rates are, I was going to say, the rates are really good. Well, they're not.
The rates are better.
Hours. The rates are better. Yeah, the odds of getting them are better, but they still take absolutely forever to get. But some of those shinies are just gorgeous, like absolutely beautiful. And then for some reason they give a load of shiny Pokemon green sprites, which I still don't get.
Again, there was an argument. I think the initial thought was that it was done through just an algorithm initially. So it went from it was basically like applying a lookup table. It was like, oh, this color immediately becomes this color, and this color becomes this color, and just shift it. And it wasn't until generation 6 or 7 where they actually designed shiny Pokemon.
So it would have just been like a palette swap, basically.
Yes.
So it cuts down on, they don't need to create double the amount of sprites for everything because it just goes, oh, this is the Pokemon, shift these colors to this color, done and dusted.
Yeah, which unfortunately meant that we got a bunch of ugly green Pokemon.
Yeah, green. Yeah, a lot of ugly green Gen 1 Pokemon in Pokemon Go I've discovered. Anything else that you want to say about Pokemon Go before we move on?
Not personally. Again, it's a game that I have found enjoyable periodically over the years.
Yes.
Sporadically, shall I say. I am currently back into it. How long it's going to hold me for, I'm not sure. We'll see. I'm glad that it's still going. I am impressed that it has impacted the franchise. It has brought so many people back to this series.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily love the fact that it's had to be, because it was so big, it's kind of, as I said earlier, invaded the rest of this franchise.
Well, actually, let's jump on that. Malton and Melmetal, because they came out first in this game. Do you remember?
Yep, they were, you could find them, but you couldn't catch them because they were all Ditto.
Yes. My tinfoil hat still maintains that something went wrong with the data to where the Dittos were just all over the place and they scrambled and it was like, well, what can we do to kind of, my tinfoil hat was like, something went wrong and they rushed out a Pokemon to kind of cover their tracks, which is why it doesn't really appear in any of the main Pokedexes. Like, it doesn't have a region assigned to it because it was discovered in Pokemon Go.
And it's technically a Gen 6 Pokemon, even though you couldn't get it in any Gen... Yeah, I think it's technically a Gen 6 Pokemon. I may be wrong in this. I might be talking out my... I think it's technically a Gen 6 Pokemon because... No, it must be Gen 7.
Well, it was Gen 7 because of... You can get into Let's Go, can't you? And
you
then
can
from
get it in Let's Go.
Yeah,
and
you can transfer it
and it's
over.
in the Sun and Moon anime.
Yes.
Maybe I'm talking complete
It's such a weird way to get it, though, because I don't like the way that you used to get it. I'm pretty sure this is the only way to do it, is you transfer Pokemon from Pokemon Go to Let's Go. Then you get a box sent to your Pokemon Go account. You can open that box, and Meltan will spawn in the wild. I think one every 5 minutes or something like that for an hour or maybe 2. And you need 400 candies to evolve it to Melmetal. And that blew my mind at the time. And I was just like, wait, what? Like, you've gone through all this effort for this Pokemon. Just blows my mind.
I think when Home first came out as well, you could... I think if you signed up to it and connected your Pokemon Go account and then transferred at least one Pokemon over, you got a level 100 Melmetal.
Oh, really?
Because that's the only way I've got one. I've got a couple of Meltan from the event.
Yeah.
And then I've got one Melmetal sitting in Pokemon Home that was gifted to me.
Oh. Do you think they'll do this again with another new Pokemon in the future?
I'm not sure.
No,
I'm not sure. It's Melmetal is such a weird Pokemon, and we still have so little lore about it. Like, there's the whole thing, like in Pokemon Let's Go, if you take it into Cerulean Cave, it kind of gets a weird golden glow around those crystals, and we're still not sure what that's about. And we still don't know where it comes from. I think it's said to be like 3,000 years old, or it disappeared 3,000 years ago, which ties it to like the ultimate weapon and all sorts. And I don't know. Melmetal is such an odd creature that we know so little about, and it infuriates me.
Yeah, and that's why, that's one of the reasons why I'm still not convinced that it was. If you're going to introduce a new Pokemon, I get the whole thing. Well, Pokemon Go was so massive and everything, but surely we would have had more, because that was what, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe I don't know. It was a long time ago, and surely if they planned to do it, I almost feel like they would have done more, like introduced more legendary, mythical, like variants of Pokemon using Pokemon Go. The fact that we've only had that one that can transfer into the main games, because I know we've had like alternative forms of like Pikachu and stuff like that. I still can't wrap my head fully around that, and I've got a proper tinfoil hat theory around it. I know it's a tinfoil hat theory, but no, that's just that's the hill I'll die on.
Love it.
Right.
Overall thoughts on the game?
I do enjoy it, but it's not something that can keep my attention for a long time. Mainly because I'm there for the Pokedex mainly, and the competitive battling for me is more frustrating than it is enjoyable.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Right. Should we move on to from Pokemon Go to Pokemon Journeys?
Let's do it.
These episodes were just fantastic.
It's finally starting, isn't it?
Yes.
You can feel it. You're like, this is what we've been building to. 13 episodes in, we can finally see what the freaking story's going to be.
Yes, exactly. So let's start with episode 11, which out of the 3 is probably the one that has the least relevant to the overall plot, but there's still some interesting parts about this. So this is where we've got Gengar just roaming around the lab, just causing mischief.
It's good. I love the fact that they finally brought Gengar back in a big way, because we've not seen Ash interact with a Gengar for a long time.
Is he? So some of the notes I've got here is I haven't watched the anime, but the last time I saw Gengar was in Gen 1 when he was trying to get a ghost type Pokemon in order to beat Sabrina. And I love the fact that this Gengar is so very different. So the Gengar from the first season of the anime was very juvenile and laughing and joking and playing tricks, whereas this Gengar was like a thing from a nightmare. It was just causing issues,
chaos,
left, right, just chaos. Yes.
I mean, we eventually find out that it is just trying to. It's just a prank, bro.
Yeah.
It's just a joke. Can't you take a joke? And it's like, no, sir, that's not funny.
No, it's not. And one thing that they mention is Gengar can apparently go to different dimensions. So there's dimensions other than this one.
I think there's a thing in his Gigantamax form that says inside of its mouth is a different dimension.
Yes, I've heard that.
Yeah, so technically there are different dimensions within the Pokemon world, and Gengar is a portal to them. The Shadow Dimension, perhaps? It is the Shadow Pokemon after all.
Potentially, yeah. It's... Yeah, there is so much that... Like, the Pokedex entries just open up such a can of worms sometimes where it's like, wait, what? Are you sure you want to put this out there and confirm this as canon? Because it just makes no sense.
To be fair, a lot of the members of the Pokemon Company and Game Freak and things like that have gone, the timeline and what is and isn't canon. Like, it's a game. Don't take it so seriously.
Yeah,
and then, of course, myself and other Pokemon theorists are like, no, you said this is a thing. It's a thing.
Yes. It's just like, what's the Pokemon that burns at something like 4,500 degrees?
Magcargo.
There's someone pointed out, you do realize that's like, the
hotter than the center of the sun.
Like, are you sure you want to put that there? But to get back on track with the episode, Yamper is exactly how I expected. He's just happy, he's excitable, he's wagging his tail, he's yamping. I just Yamper was probably the mon that made this episode for me.
Champ. I love him so much. You get a good introduction to Chloe, who has been a character in previous episodes, but we've not really seen much of her until this one.
We haven't, no, because the whole premise, I know that you've got the Gengar causing trouble, but it feels very much like her episode and Yamper's episode, and they're starting to build up this trainer. If she is going to be a trainer, I don't know, because apparently there's further proof in this episode that schools exist, and she's going to that school, even though she's 10. So do children graduate at 10? And then
I told you it's a choice.
It's a choice. Apparently, you can either stay in school or you can go off on a Pokemon adventure for whatever reason. But Yamper takes an ice punch from Gengar, and I was like, I don't know why. I was just like, I was actually scared for Yamper. I thought they killed Yamper. And I know they wouldn't, but in that moment, I was just like, what's happened? Like, is Yamper okay?
I don't know. The Pokemon have a habit of killing the doggos. I still haven't forgiven them for what they did in Sun and Moon.
Why? What did they do in Sun and Moon?
They killed a Stoutland.
Did they? What, for old age or...
So Ash's Litten used to live with a Stoutland, and then it was dying of old age, and Litten would go out and bring it food back and look after it. And it made no sense for Litten to join Ash's team, so they killed Stoutland and just let it die of old age. And it was like, don't worry, my little friend, you can go off on your adventure. Just let me. It's like, no, you don't get to kill the doggo. What are you doing?
That's just a cheap way to okay, we've got this character that we want to go on an adventure, but there's this roadblock in the middle. What's the word I'm looking for? Not the easiest way, but the most
succinct way.
Yeah, to go, oh, here you go. Like, there's no reason now why you can't go on your adventure. That roadblock is gone. You mentioned food. Apparently, Pokemon pet food looks delicious and unhealthy. It's literally just sweets and chocolate, I think.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
it's just like, oh, okay, right, fair enough. And I knew I knew when Go caught the Wurmpools in a previous episode, this is exactly where it was going. And I wasn't disappointed where all three of them, because he gets three because he's like, well, you know,
I'm playing the odds.
You're playing the odds. I'm like, okay, fair enough. That makes sense. And they all turn into the same Pokemon. I was like, oh, poor Go. He's just trying to complete his Pokedex and this happens.
Been there, mate. Been there.
Just, and like, last episode, Tentacool, I think I mentioned this, sounded different to how I remember. And so does Magnemite, which I've got a note like, do Pokemon have regional accents?
Does Magnemite sound different
than it did in... I remember as a kid, I was like, that does not sound how it sounded.
Magnemite.
Yeah, it didn't sound... It didn't. It sounded different. I might be wrong, but it sounded different to when I was a young boy watching it.
To be fair,
but do Pokemon have regional accents? It makes sense, wouldn't it? Depending on where they're from. Because apparently cats in the real world have accents, depending on where you... I don't... Listen, this is something I've investigated, something I've read, okay? And the people have said, depending on where you go, cats have different accents. So the way they meow is different depending on, like, which country you're in, apparently. I love... I'll tell you something else I love. Like, the scientists nickname their Pokemon. Like...
Yes.
It was just brilliant. It's something that I used to hate doing as a kid, but ever since I started my YouTube channel, no, same. But then YouTube and Nuzlocke, I don't know if you're the same as me. Like, I love nicknaming Pokemon now.
I do now. I will always say, when it comes to a new generation, I don't do it because it helps me remember the names of these Pokemon. But yeah, especially since doing Nuzlocke, where it's like a part of the rules, I realize it really does make it my Pokemon.
It does, yeah.
It's no longer just an Umbreon, it's Cadet, who is a character unto themselves.
Yeah. It's just, it just helps you. The whole point of the Nuzlocke is, you know, it helps you to form an emotional attachment to the Pokemon. So in the real world, in anime, whatever, you'd understand why people would call their Pokemon names, especially because so many of them look the same. If you're all out and about, you might lose that Mon, whereas if it knows to it, it's like, I guess it's the same as us, like in the real world. Like, you don't call dogs dog, like dog, you give it a name, don't you? So
you do
the same for Pokemon. It makes sense. The only note I've got is a Pokemon horror game where you track ghost mons. How cool would that be?
That's actually a really cool idea. Like would it be like a mystery game?
So there's a game. What's the game I sometimes play? It's called Phasmophobia. I don't know if you've heard of
one.
it. Yeah, like why? And there might be. I want a Pokemon mod for that.
Ooh.
I'd love like you're investigating somewhere and then just Gengar appears. It'd be brilliant.
It's a Gengar. It's a Dux Noir. It's a Bayonet, and it's like what's the clues we can find? Well, the person being haunted was a little girl. It's like, okay, so it's probably a Bayonet. She's probably throwing a doll away, and that's why it's haunting her, because it wants to. This particular haunting happens in the woods. All right, so it's a phantom, maybe. Are we going with that route? All right, yeah. No, I actually really like that. Like that.
I'd love that. That'd be great. Game Freak, if you're listening, you know, just give us a bit of cash and, you know, you can have our idea.
Just credit us, and that's all we have.
Credit us. That's all we want. Have you got any more notes on this episode? Anything you want to talk about?
Other than Chloe, I really like Chloe in this one.
Yes.
I think the fact that they're finally starting to introduce... It's weird, because she's the third main character, technically, in this series.
Okay, right.
And yet, because she doesn't go off on the adventures with the boys, you almost don't get a lot of her. So in this one where it's like, well, what are you going to be when you grow up? It's like, well, everybody thinks I'm going to be a professor because my dad's a professor, and I don't really know if that's what I want to do. I don't even know if I like Pokemon. And it's like, well, Yamper likes you.
Yeah.
But does he? Yes. Yamper loves you.
There's a connection.
There is. And she will get more and more accustomed to Pokemon. She's almost like this season's Lily. I know you watched a bit of Sun and Moon, right?
A little bit, yeah.
So, you know, Lily was kind of like, I'm not sure about Pokemon, and then got her first one, which was Snowy, and kind of grew as a trainer over the course of it. Yeah, that's Chloe this season.
Okay, so we're going to see more of it, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so episode 12, Flash of the Titans. What did you think?
Oh boy, here we go. Lance versus Leon.
I know.
mean, is this the first time we see Leon?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you finally get to see the unbeaten champion.
Yes.
And he goes up against Lance, who is...
Which is just amazing. Like, he's a member of the Elite Four, and I don't know if in the anime canon he's a former champion. He is in the games.
Forget the canon. Because Lance has appeared in the anime before. I know he was like part of a secret team that was investigating Team Rocket and stuff back in the day. But I can't remember too much of what they gave his backstory. But he is world-class battler, which is why he gets to go up against Leon. I think this is the World Coronation Championship?
I've got that written down somewhere. It sounds about right. Yeah, World Coronation Tournament.
Mm-hmm. So this is the World Coronation Series. This is the final match before the new season begins.
Right.
And it's Lance versus Leon, and Leon doesn't even break a sweat.
Because straight off the bat, and this is the thing that the anime doesn't really do, is it doesn't really do type advantages. Like, they mention it and they give it lip service, but it never really pans out. There have been plenty of times where Pokemon with a type advantage, still loses. But I'm okay with that because while I was just like looking at it, and like there's an example where the commentator says when Charizard uses Flamethrower and Gyarados uses Hyper Beam. A Hyper Beam from a Gyarados should probably beat a Flamethrower in my eyes, but it doesn't. The Flamethrower overpowers it, and Gyarados seems like the stronger Pokemon. But I think what this episode, as it goes on further and further, made me realize is Leon is the better trainer. And God,
I don't know. You know the term Mary Sue.
Yes, he's a Gary Stew, isn't he, Leon?
I don't know what the male version of. We should just use Mary Sue still.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he is, and it's just like, he's the unbeatable champion, and he can overcome everything, and my Charizard could beat everyone and everything. And it's like, whatever. Well, whose OC are you?
Well, yeah, he is, yeah. But it's like, Charizard survives a dragon-danced Aqua Tail and multiple Ice Fangs.
Yep.
Not to mention, like, Gyarados is just, like, raging left, right, and center. And then Charizard brings a Thunder Punch just out of nowhere, which I was like, wait, Charizard can learn Thunder Punch? And another one of those examples where I watch the anime, I'm like, I go away and I look up, I'm like, yeah, Charizard can learn Thunder Punch, which makes sense. Which is part of the reason why I think that, like my comment about Leon being the better trainer is obviously he knew he was going up against Lance, so he's like, right, okay, what are the moves that I've got that can counter his Gyarados, which is water and flying, so quad weakness to it, and I just Leon grew on me the more this episode went on, because I'm not gonna lie, their voices didn't really work for me to start with.
Yeah, that's fair.
But then over the 2 episodes, I was like, okay, right, I can kind of see this voice working for that. I'm still not completely sold on it. I'm pretty sure the next time I see him in an episode, I'm like, okay, that takes me out of it a little bit. But it was just, the episode just went on and on, didn't it? Like, the battle just went on and on. The majority of the episode.
Most of the episode.
Yeah. It's just this battle between these two titans of the Pokemon world, just absolutely going at one another. And, like, this is what... It's one of the things that I loved about Sword and Shield, and I'm glad it carried over into this, is the stadiums. Like, that is, like... For those of you that might be listening in other countries, I know we do get people listening from other countries, like, they nailed, like, the football stadium atmosphere in Pokemon Sword and Shield. They absolutely nailed it. Like, the big open stadiums, people cheering along to the music, and this is what a stadium should look like, because these big tournament battles would attract tens of thousands of people, and
I mean, this is effectively the world championship.
Yeah.
This is the world finals, the best Pokemon trainers from everywhere. These are the number 1 and number 2 seed going head to head. Like, this should be the biggest event.
Yes. Like, sold out. You can't get enough, you can't get a ticket, or the tickets are ridiculous because these
were sold out before you even knew who the competitors were going to be.
Yes, definitely. Oh, definitely. And it's just fantastic. And then, the Dynamax finally comes into it, like showing a battle. And one thing that happens in this that doesn't happen in the game is he actually opens a portal above the stadium, which I don't think happens in the game. They get the little like clouds around their heads. But this is the first time you actually see a portal open in the sky. And earlier on in the episode, we see, when they're on the plane, you see Eternatus.
Yes, you do.
It's not sealed like it isn't it? Because in the game, it's sealed until the very end when Chairman Rose goes, right, okay, this is going to happen in 1,000 years, so I'm going to sort it out now. So in the anime, is Chairman Rose already experimenting?
No comment.
Okay, interesting. Right, that'll be interesting to see when that comes around. I'm really looking forward to that, especially if they can nail. Like, I tell you what, if the Eternatus appears later on in the series and they have to work alongside Zacian and Zamazenta and the music from the game kicks in, I will just lose my mind because that is still one of the best moments in Pokemon, in my opinion. Absolutely love it. So,
without spoiling anything, the big Galar story is at the end of this season.
Okay, right. Interesting. Okay. How many episodes have we got? Off the top of your head.
24?
Oh, so about halfway there then. Okay. Right. I'm looking forward to that then. What other comment? So one of my comments, it's a two-parter, but before we jump into the second part,
I lied, 48.
48. Oh, okay. So we're about a quarter of the way. So before we jump into the next part, because it is a two-parter, the referee is from Galar from the games. Absolutely love that little reference. Dan. Yeah, and he sounds exactly how I expected. Like, they nailed his voice acting spot. I was like, that's him. That is what I'd expect him to sound like. Loved it. And the Rocket Pokedex just being like, I don't know. Like, it's just
so sassy.
It is. It's just a subpar
I don't know.
Pokedex.
Why didn't you just work it out?
It's just absolutely fantastic. So I've also got a comment here about, who do you think would win? And maybe we do something similar like that in the future where people submit their entries as to, these are the two Pokemon trainers, and we have to decide who would win.
So again, Leon's supposed to be undefeated, and that's what they're obviously introducing. So from a story perspective, I get it.
Yes.
But I just don't think Charizard wins that fight. If it
I
pulled out the Thunder Punch earlier, yeah,
maybe.
Easy win. But also, we haven't brought up the fact that Lance has the shiny Gyarados.
Yeah, so
he has the Lake of Rage shiny Gyarados.
See, I thought that too, but I actually made a note. It actually says, it says something like, "Oh, he caught it as a Magikarp" or something like that. You can hear you can hear the commentator in the back because I saw it and I was like, "Oh, so Gen 2 actually happened in the anime." But then I overhear and I was like, oh, okay, it's just a reference to the Gen 2 games. It isn't actually confirmation that he caught the Gyarados at the Lake of Rage because the story happened, unfortunately.
Boo.
Yeah, I was like, come on, commit all the way. You know you want to. So, should we move on to the next episode?
Yes, where this Dreadnought is just going ham.
Yeah.
And I will say, this Dreadnought freaks me out a little bit. Because I didn't expect his neck to extend the way it does. It's like a telescopic...
It just keeps going. It's
uneasy. It makes me feel uneasy. I don't like it.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure it does mention it in the Pokedex, but you don't ever see it in Gen 8. So you're just like, all right, okay. And then it's just like something out of a horror film. It's just like, wait, what? It can do that?
And even when it goes Gigantamax, it loses its neck, if anything.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does because it sinks into its head sinks into its It's
shell further, yeah.
Yeah, but
so it was one of those things that like appears in the anime. I'm like, I don't know if I like that.
I don't like the neck thing, but what I will say is the anime really nails what the games don't, is the sheer power of Dynamaxing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They're like tearing up the city.
They're like kaijus at this point.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a kaiju fight.
Yes.
100% a kaiju fight.
It's just fantastic. And then obviously Pikachu. Like, I've just got a note here. Just, oh my god, here comes chubby Pikachu. And I'm all down for it. I'm so down for this.
Ash not needing a Dynamax band.
Yes.
This is again one of those very few things of like, Ash is just a better trainer than everybody else in the world.
Well,
he doesn't need a Dynamax band to Dynamax his Pokemon. He was able to like get Ash Greninja when everybody else needed Mega Stones and everything else. He's just like, nah, I don't need any of that. I got my boy.
Yeah.
And later on in this series, we're gonna see he gets another stupid power. Even in Sun and Moon, he had his Electrium Z, which was gifted to him by Tapu Koko, because Tapu Koko was like, I see you, boy. You're going to do something special. Here you go. Have this. You're gonna enjoy this. And then he goes head to head with Tapu Koko in like the championship match. And his Electrium Z just goes, and boof. All right, I'm a Pikium Z now. And it's like, what? You're just breaking reality.
Okay. He's just making it up as he goes along. I love it. I just love where Ash... So Ash, obviously, he isn't used to Dynamaxing, Gigantamaxing at this point for the Pikachu. So he's just like, he uses like, use Quick Attack anyway. And Pikachu's kind of wobbles over it. And Ash has to, like, then says, like, use Iron Tail again.
He grabs his tail.
Grabs his tail and starts swinging it. It just doesn't work. Because obviously Ash at this point doesn't understand G-Max moves at this point until Leon starts to support him, and it's like, so G-Max Volt Crash is what they were saying. I heard it as G-Max Bum Crash,
which it basically is. It's Rakeshi Butt Slam.
Yeah, yes. And for a second, I did think they were saying Bum Crash because it jumps into the air and then it comes down. I was like, wait, I don't ever remember G-Max Bum Crash in the game. I was like, if I missed something at some point, and I think maybe I don't know whether or not like it's just the recording quality, or I don't know. I just like they could have cleared that up because at some points it did sound like G-Max Bum Crash.
I think that's just wishful thinking. You just really wanted it to be called maybe G-Max Bum Crash.
G-Max Bum Crash. And so obviously we have the battle and everything like this, and like my first thought watching this was like, this is just set up for Ash needing to use G-Max later in the series, and this is going to be his development for the series. So I was like, okay, Leon's going to come along, Leon's going to help, and they're going to be like, I look forward to seeing you in later on in the series, kid. But then they battle.
Yep.
I was like, okay.
Just throw down.
We're doing this now. Yes.
Because he's a champion. He has the right to challenge whoever he wants now. He's got that kind of clout about him, basically, to be like, yo, I'm a champion. You want to throw down?
Yeah.
Damn straight I want to throw down. Yeah, just so you Gigantamax your Pikachu without a Dynamax band. Yeah. You got my attention, kid.
Yeah. And Ash loses the battle.
Of course he does.
Of course he does. But I'm okay. So this is the thing that I love about this. Is his first real loss of this series.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to what we said in previous episodes of the podcast, where Ash typically travels to a new region and he loses against the first gym leader, or he loses against that first Snivy he comes across, or whatever. And it feels cheap. It feels like we've been cheated as the audience. This doesn't feel like cheap or that I've been cheated, because I'm like, well,
this is the final boss.
Of course he would lose against Leon. Like, how would he win at this point? He's literally got Pikachu. He's using Gigantamax, which he's never used before. And Leon just has all this experience as being, unbeatable. So I'm okay with Ash losing this fight because it shows that he's still got growth, but it doesn't feel like it's forced growth. So it's not like, we just need to, bring him back a bit by just getting him to lose against like really weak trainers. He loses against a trainer he would lose against.
And unlike him, like, losing against Brock, it's not like, oh, we're going to beat him later this episode. We're going to beat him on the next episode. This is what this series is building to, is this rematch.
Yeah.
Ash goes, all right, I see you. I see where I need to get to. Let's go work for it. Let's go earn that rematch. Let's go. And is introduced into the Coronation League.
Yeah.
And is told, there you go. You are at the bottom of the rankings, sir. You have no seeding. I'll see you in the top 8.
Oh.
What a journey. Ironically, what a journey it becomes.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to this. So
do you like the idea of a Coronation series rather than gym battles?
Oh yeah, I prefer that. So one of the things that I've really enjoyed about this series so far is that it's not like the old ones where it's like, Ash Ketchum's on a journey, Gym 1, oh, something else, Gym 2, something else, and it just went on and on and on and on. This is just like, okay, it feels like the creators have got a bit more free reign to do what they want, and I absolutely love that. I don't need to see him going to, each of the gyms in a certain order and whatnot. I'm okay with him just having a journey and just figuring out who he is, what his team's going to be, building his team. Because he's at that stage now where he should be able to catch a load of powerful Pokemon and go toe-to-toe with all these great trainers rather than having to go out to each individual gym just to be like, well, I've got to prove myself. It's like, well, you've already proved yourself like several series over. So let's figure out a different way to do it. And I'm glad they've done it.
And it's a great way as well. It means that we can keep exploring all these different regions and them jet-setting around the world. Yes. And everywhere we go, Ash can find an opponent. He can go, there's somebody close to me who is in my sort of ranking or slightly above me or slightly below me. I gotta fight.
Yeah.
It's a genius. As a bit of writing and story construction, I think it's fantastic. I think it's such a brilliant idea. Because again, once he became a champion, it's like, well, what do you do now? Do you reset him? Do you remove him? What, he can't just go back to fighting gym leaders again and hoping to become a champion of another region. I guess he can, but we did it. Yeah. We've done it. It's been done. So I'm so glad they went in this direction. Side note, Gigantamax Meowth.
Oh, we're getting that. It wasn't in this episode, was it?
It wasn't in this episode.
No.
I retract my statement.
Oh, okay, right. If you just spoiled something for me then.
Maybe.
So the moment you said that, I was like, oh yeah, that does actually make sense that it's gonna, that Meowth, because Meowth also gets a Gigantamax form in Sword and Shield. It was that Pikachu and Eevee, wasn't it, when it first came out? And depending on which games you played, you got. I think the Meowth one is one that you got with the game. It was just like on a piece of paper or something like that. So that, not really a spoiler, because I was like, oh, okay. The moment you mentioned Gigantamax Meowth, that was me just thinking you were saying, do you think we'll see it? And I was like, yeah, we'll see it. So the only other comment I've got here, and I'm going back to this again. So the battle made me realize how EVs and IVs would work in the anime, because some ones are just stronger than others, which brings me back to the Charizard and Gyarados fight and Ash's Pikachu. They've said multiple times Ash's Pikachu is special. There's something about it. So he's just got perfect stats, right?
Basically, yes.
Right. Okay, so that explains a little bit, I guess, around why some Pokemon then can beat others. It's, nature and nurture, I guess. So I'm still okay with Leon winning that fight. Maybe he should have had a different Pokemon, I guess. But of course they were going to bring out Charizard. Like, Game Freak thinks it's like the best thing since sliced bread. Never.
Well, it is popular, and I will always argue that I think Charizard deserves the love that it gets.
It does deserve the love that it gets. I think some fans would disagree with us on that, but there is a reason that it gets toted out so much, and because it is a great and such a memorable Pokemon. Anything else you want to say about this episode?
No, I'm just looking forward to, because it's weird to say that a quarter of the way into this season we're finally getting going.
Yes.
We're finally, like, the setup is done now. We've had all three of our characters really introduced. Chloe's had her episode. Ash and Go were settled into what they're doing. Ash has his goal. Go has his goal. We can finally set out now and just actually get on, and everybody's moving forward. It feels weird that it's taking so long to get here. But as I say, as much as it should feel slow, to me it hasn't. Does it? I know a couple of episodes ago you said it was feeling slow to you. Do you still think that?
No, I don't. It's something that, as I've watched more TV over my life, you can spot filler episodes. You can just spot the episodes where it's like, you take that episode out of the series and nothing changes. And there's been a handful of them, but nowhere near as much as I expected, to be honest with you. There's been the one that comes to mind straight away is just the ice racing one that they did. That's the only one that off the top of my head I can go, that was a filler. All the rest, there seemed to be some kind of development or growth, progressing the story, catching Pokemon, building the scene, whatever it might be. That was the only one that I was like, okay. Whereas it does feel very much like this series so far is just like, here's a beat, and we're just going through the story, and it isn't slowing down. And
I think it gets away with it a little bit more because Go can catch one or two random Pokemon. It's like, well, now it's technically canon. Now you can't skip it because otherwise you don't know where Go caught that Metapod.
Yeah. That good old
I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, good. Right, okay, fantastic. Right, Connor, as always, are you ready to play a game?
Let's do it. I'm going to get you this week.
Okay, so last week you got 0.
You're going to rub this in. You're going to rub that in. Really?
I'm
Okay.
just bringing it. I just want the audience to know, just in case they missed it, go back and listen to it. So this week there's a bit of a theme. Okay, all right. Let's see if you can figure out. So the first Pokemon is Chikorita, obviously one of the most popular Pokemon in existence, and rightly so.
Obliviously, and not underrated in the slightest. No. Overrated, if anything.
Overrated. Oh, okay. So Pokedex entry 1. Often found dozing off in the sun. Sometimes it sleeps so deeply that other Pokemon have been known to take a chunk out of the leaf atop its head. Second Pokedex entry. It uses the leaf on its head to determine the air's temperature and humidity. It loves to sunbathe. And then the final Pokedex entry. A sweet aroma gently wafts from the leaf on its head. It is docile and loves to soak up the sun's rays. Are those his
The
fave?
first one makes me so sad. I'm going to say the third one.
The third one. It was, in fact, the first one.
Damn it! That's really good because that's some like really Pokedex level information that I was like, there's no way he'd come up with that. I actually went for the third one because I was like, that seems like generic enough that maybe.
I think this is going to be interesting doing this week on week because you'll get to understand.
You're getting better.
I'm getting better, but you're getting better at figuring out mine. So it's like we're constantly like trying to one up one another, and I love it. So, the second Pokemon is Bayleaf. So there's a bit of a theme. So the first Pokedex entry: the scent of spices comes from around its neck. Somehow, sniffing it makes you want to fight. Second one. Bayleaf's neck is ringed by curled up leaves. Inside each tubular leaf is a small shoot of a tree. The fragrance of this shoot makes people peppy. And the final one, the leaves on its neck grow larger as it absorbs sunlight. The larger the leaves, the closer it is to evolution.
That's second one, right? There's not a tree inside each leaf.
No. I've got down this the third one, but reading these out, the first one doesn't seem real to me even. I'm thinking, have I put two fake ones in it?
Well, hang on. So, does smelling the leaves make you want to fight?
Well,
or peppy? It can't be both.
So I think I've got it wrong, and I'm pretty sure now reading these back that I did the first one, and I was like, no, that's too obvious. Then I did the third one, and I never went back to the first one. Like high quality podcasting and research here, folks. But I'm so
and
glad
either way, I picked the only real one.
You picked the only real one. So
it's got a tree inside each of its leaves.
Apparently so. I don't know. It's a small shoot of a tree. What that means, I don't know. But yeah. It was the
Yeah,
third
all
one,
right.
maybe
That
the
thing
first
that
one.
gets petals around its neck.
Yes,
Apparently has trees coming out of it.
yeah, exactly. Okay, so third and final one is Meganium. First Pokedex entry. Its breath has the fantastic ability to revive dead plants and flowers. Second Pokedex
Okay, that one I know is true.
Okay. The aroma that rises from its petals contains a substance that calms aggressive feelings. And the third and final one, its gentle disposition is put to the test when people or Pokemon deliberately damage plants and herbs under its care.
Oh, okay, I'm going to go with... I know the first one is true. I have read that one.
So you've got 50-50 shots.
Yep. Oh, I'm going to say the second one.
It's the third one.
Of course it is! Of course it is!
Got it! I thought you were getting better at this.
No, I'm just losing it, man. Losing it. I'm learning how little I know about Pokemon as we go on.
Well, I will for 2 weeks in a row now take my crown. We should probably mix this up every now and again, and you test me.
Oh, we'll see how that goes. Yeah. And that'll be the first time you get all three correct.
Get all three
never
right.
ever do it again.
Brilliant. Right, okay, let's move on to our letters and comments. If you've got a comment or question, you can reach us by leaving a comment on our podcast on YouTube or by emailing goldenrodpod@gmail.com. So, the first question we've adapted slightly. Sorry, Intrepid, but you asked what our favourite gym leader and Elite Four of each region is. We'd be here all day if we were doing that. So, we're just going to say our favourite gym leader and favourite Elite Four member, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can start us off while I try and remember all the gym leaders.
Every single one. So, when we're talking about Elite Four, are we including the champions or not? Are they separate?
I think so. I think they count.
Oh, Stephen Stone then. All day, every day.
Stephen Stone?
Just,
what a handsome fellow.
Specimen of a man. Specimen of a man. And one of the reasons is because I just remember playing that game. You get to Stephen Stone, you're like, oh, I've seen this Pokemon. Yeah, okay, right. That's one of the fossils. Oh, that's the other fossil. And then he just throws out Metagross and you're just like, what is this? And it just ran through my team. And Steel and Psychic typing, thing of beauty, like so bulky and so offensive. Absolutely love it. So Stephen Stone is my Elite Four member of choice.
And of course, you don't get to see a Metagross until that point in the game because he gives you the
Beldum. Yes. So it just comes out of nowhere. And you're just like, what's this, Mon? And straight away you're panicking because you're thinking, okay, well, it kind of looks like it could be metal. And then he just throws out Psychic type moves. You're just like, wait, what? And and he's just fat. And the fact that he, out of all the champions, he's probably one of the ones that has the most input in your story, and he keeps popping up and supporting you and helping you. And that was advanced even more in the Gen 3 remakes. So yeah, Stephen Stone. What about you?
I think the obvious answer is like Cynthia. She's one of the best Elite Four members ever.
Yes.
But I think I'm weirdly going to go with Koga.
Okay, break this down. Go on.
Simply because it was the first time I was like, oh, hang on. You were a gym leader, but you advanced to an Elite Four member, which means, and it gives so much context to like what a gym leader and Elite Four member means, and it's your role in society, and the fact that you can move up and down on that scale. It's an interesting concept to me. And Koga is not my favorite gym leader. He's not my favorite Elite Four member. But the fact that he introduced this idea that you can move in the rankings and therefore you're standing in society, fascinating.
It is, until you realize he was replaced in his gym by literally his daughter, which made like how.
Yeah, nepotism's a thing.
How's that work? So are you having Koga for your answer for both of those?
No, just the Elite Four member.
Okay.
I have a favorite gym leader.
Oh, go on then, because I'm struggling.
It's Berg.
It's who?
Berg.
Oh, Big! Oh, he's so happy with all these bug Pokemon,
I love him so much. And it was one of those things, again, that Gen 5 playthrough that I did. I just got so excited. So I gave Berg, when I was doing all the voices, I gave him a really camp voice.
Yeah, I can understand
that. And it wasn't meant to be like derogatory in any way, but there was something about adopting that persona that just made me so happy that I just fell in love with him.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gorgeous. He's such a gorgeous individual.
Have you seen him in Pokemon Masters? So you can unlock a summer. No, it's an Easter version, and he's basically got like a top hat and this like smart suit that's all white, pink, and blue. So like the whole camp attitude that he gave him kind of fits with that one as well. And his Pokemon's a Togepi as well, who is absolutely busted. So yeah, I can understand why you did.
And
that
also,
for
he's got my hair, so I have to love him.
Oh, so he has, yes.
He's a big curly mop top.
Yeah, he has. I love it. For me, I'm struggling to go through every single gym leader that I can think of, but one of the ones that I love it is Kabu in Gen
I think
8.
you brought this up before that you like Kabu.
There's just something about, I don't know what he like. He's just one of the ones that like seems to take it really seriously.
He's an old boy. You can tell he's been at it a while, and like, yeah, you're right. He does take it seriously, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's like when like he's not even there to start with. He's in Galar Mine number 2, just training with his Pokemon, and then he challenges the Team Yell members there, and like basically have a bit more respect. And then you battle him in the gym, and he just like you're there waiting, and he just jogs up with this towel around him, and he just jogs onto the field, and he's just like ready to go. I don't know what it is about him. There's just something that I'm like, oh, okay, right. I'd love to meet and have a chat with him in real life.
I think other than Opal, he's the only older gym leader in that entire game.
All of the rest are quite young, aren't they?
Yeah, I think technically Melanie is older because she does have a son.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Good old Kabu. Good guy.
Old Kabu, one more question from Captain Mod this week. Favorite non-Pokemon game?
This is a difficult one for me. Because I don't play a lot of games anymore. I just don't have time for it. I was never a big gamer to begin with. I think most of my gaming growing up was mostly with my stepbrother because it was a way that we didn't end up punching each other.
Yeah.
So we did lots of Gears of War. Halo 3 was probably one of the biggest games of my life.
Yes.
I think I was speaking to somebody yesterday about this, the fact that, Halo 3, Red versus Blue, these were kind of the things that got me into script writing to begin with. I wanted to make a machinima back in the day.
Oh, yes.
With a couple of my mates from school, not university. We're going way, way back. So that kind of got me into script writing, which then led me on to taking media studies, which led me on to doing film at university, which led me on to wanting to be creative and get my own camera gear and stuff like that, which led on to me getting my YouTube channel. So in a long roundabout way, I have a lot to thank Halo 3 for.
All right.
So Halo 3 will always stand out as a very, very good game in my eyes and probably one of my favorites.
I didn't expect that. I remember Halo 3 was for me at university because we figured out that a load of the internet ports in our rooms, if we all plugged them in, we could have a LAN party.
Nice.
So everyone just had Xbox 360s, and we typically have 3-on-3, and it was messy as anything. I absolutely loved it. But my favorite games, like you, I don't really get a lot of time to play video games. Unfortunately, as you get older, you just have less time. So mine are more from a nostalgia point of view. I think it's got to be one of the ones from the PlayStation 1 era, and it's probably either Final Fantasy IX or Resident Evil 2. And those games couldn't be any more different. And Resident Evil 2, because it's just a corny horror game that isn't really horror, to be quite honest with you. I absolutely just love playing that game and exploring it and figuring out all the secrets and perfecting it. And it's one of the first games that I remember just blowing me away because it's like, oh, you've completed the game. Well, now you get to play it again as a different character who goes on a slightly different story. I was like, oh, this is absolutely amazing. And Final Fantasy IX, because I rented this from, and I told this to other people before, I rented it from basically a smaller version of Blockbuster. It was a little independent place. And I just remember being blown away when they were pointing it in. It was like, it's 4 discs. Like, wait, what? And this just blew my mind because I was like, I'm used to games being on 1 disc. Like, why would it have 4 discs? And then just playing it for hours on hours, and I had to constantly go back and re-rent it because I just couldn't complete, because it just went on and exploring everything, and the battle system had to, because this was after Pokemon for me. And like Pokemon's a 1-on-1, you have 4 moves to choose from. Final Fantasy is like, well, you've got 4 characters. Final Fantasy 9 is you've got 4 characters on your side with multiple abilities and attacks, defense, And then you've got multiple opponents on the other side, and there's a story to it, and the graphics at the time were gorgeous. The FMVs were beautiful. The music was just sounded amazing, and that game, like, you never forget your first Final Fantasy. And I think for most people, typically your first Final Fantasy is your favorite because it's so nostalgia heavy.
Sorry, mine was 13.
13? Really? 13 was your favorite or your first?
No, it was my first.
Is it your favorite?
No.
No, okay.
No, I've played 7 since then.
The original 7. You have, haven't you? You've done it on your channel.
Yeah, no, that was good fun.
Played the remake?
Not yet. Worth it?
Yes. So
because you've been playing that through on Twitch at the moment, aren't you?
Yes. So I
see, now that's how you do a segue into the next section, which is what are we doing?
Yes, it is. So I might as well talk about that. So I'm doing Final Fantasy VII Remake over on Twitch. I'm doing it hard mode, which goes from, because I'm max level on hard mode, it goes from, oh, this is quite easy, to, okay, I've suddenly been surrounded by 9 guys in an alleyway and they've all just beat me to death. So the reason
sounds like an everyday in London.
Yeah. So the reason I decided to play the remake on Twitch is because I didn't buy Final Fantasy VII. I'm a PlayStation Plus member, so eventually it was like, you can get it for free. I was like, okay, right, I'll play it, because I wasn't that fussed about playing a remake, because Final Fantasy VII, while I enjoyed it, I hadn't played it in over 20 years, so I wasn't that fussed. And I played it through. I was like, okay, this is a good game, and I can understand people's frustration because the remake is only, it's not even disc 1 of the original. It's the Midgar section, which you can get through in about 3-4 hours if you know what you're doing and you're legging it through. And there are certain parts where you're like, okay, this is different than the original. Oh, are they padding it out? Not quite sure. And then I played the last chapter, which is about 2.5 hours long. And the final cutscene, I was just like, wait, what? And I went down this rabbit hole, reading articles, watching, 3-hour YouTube theory videos on where this is going. I was like, I need to play this game again. Which is why I'm doing it ready in advance of all the new Final Fantasy content that is coming out this year and next year on the PS4 and PS5. If you can, if you loved the original, go back and play this.
Yeah, because I'd heard that basically what was initially supposed to be a remake is now like a reimagining / sequel / spin-off /
okay, right. So
not a remake. I don't know anything else about it. Again, I played 7 when just before the remake came out.
Yeah.
I don't have a PlayStation, so I was waiting for it to come out on PC. It's now out on PC with the Luffy expansion. Worth picking up?
I personally would say so, because it's you're gonna get a good 30 hours of playtime out of it if you're just rushing through. And I can understand why people say it's padded. I personally don't believe the majority of it is padding. It's just that they've now got the room to go. This massive city that was underexplored in the original, we can expand on it. And because it's split into chapters, and some chapters were maybe 1 or 2 screens in the original, and playing it through, I'm like, wow, because I'm playing through the original now on the Switch, and what I'm doing is I'm playing that at the same time that I'm playing the content on Twitch, because then I can compare the two. But there are times where I'll finish the Twitch stream and it's taking me an hour and a half to get through a chapter, and then I load it up on the Switch, and I'm like, that took me 5 minutes. and I'm through, and I'm like, wait, I don't remember. So I am glad that they were able to take this and go, right, let's expand on it. And my understanding is that the only reason they've done it is because quite a lot of the original developers are getting on now, and basically they were like, well, if we don't do it now, we're never going to get a chance to adapt this. And the problem is, if they'd have just done a straight remake, I don't think it would have worked, because people would just be like, either not interested or, well, it doesn't live up to the original. Like, the original's a classic. So I'm glad that they went down this route of, well, how can we try and appease both sets of fans? And I personally think they nailed it. But I have read other people going, absolutely hated it. I just wanted a straight remake. And I'm glad it wasn't a straight remake, because if it was, I would have just forgotten about it. I would have just been like, right, it's done. Right. Might play the next one at some point. But this has made me go, when they announced the second game, which is called Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I'm all down for this now. I'm like, I want to see where this goes, and I'm excited to see what comes from it.
Nice.
So yeah, so play it. So that was my plug. What about your plug? What are you working on? What's going on?
Currently at the moment, I have just finished recording a collaboration that should be coming out within the next couple of weeks ish. I don't know. Collaborations are always up in the air because you're trying to level out 2 different videos. But I have a collaboration with Birdkeeper Toby coming out very soon, which I'm super excited about. It was a very cool opportunity to meet someone who I've followed for a very long time. Has already shouted out my channel many a times and given us lots and lots of growth, and has given input and direction and guidance. And I'm not going to say he's a mentor of mine, but a little bit of mentorship has happened, and I'm very happy for it. So yes, I've got a collaboration coming out.
Nice.
Video on his channel, video on my channel. Very much looking forward to those. Should be good. Won't give too much away on them.
Okay.
But watch this space.
Did you tell him about the podcast?
Of course I told him about the podcast.
Yeah!
I talk to everyone about this podcast. It's one of my favorite things I do.
Good. I'm glad. I am glad. And we're 5 weeks in now. This is just crazy. Still going. Downloads are going up. And as always, I'm still enjoying having these conversations with you and just talking about just Pokemon stuff. I love it. It's so much fun.
Absolute pleasure, as always.
Brilliant. And that's the show for this week. If you've gotten this far, you're just a top dollar, aren't you? I'm going to embrace it now. We're embracing it. We're going for it. We're doing it. We're doing it. Connor, where can we find you?
You can find me on my channel on YouTube at Captain Fidget, or on Twitter at CapFidget.
Brilliant. And I'm Ben, and you can find me as Professor Hoenn on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. As for the Goldenrod Podcast, you can find us on all the usual platforms. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Acast, loads of them. Just search for Goldenrod Podcast. And while you're there, why not, leave a 5-star review? I mean, I have. We've only got 1 review, and it's mine, but I'll take it. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, leave a like. We'll be back next Friday for another week of Pokemon podcast content. See ya.